This video was sponsored by Verve. Head to vrv.co/Arlo to get a 30-day free trial of Verve Premium. Verve is a streaming service with tons of individual channels like Crunchyroll, Shudder, Rooster Teeth, and, perhaps most importantly of all, classic Nickelodeon cartoons. They got Rocco! If you want the best deal though, you can get every single channel ad-free, exclusive shows, offline viewing, and early access to new content for only $9.99 a month through Verve Premium. So how convenient is it that you can head to verve.co/Arlo to try out this service free for 30 days and help out your buddy Arlo? Everybody wins! Many thanks to Verve for their support, and be sure to let me know what you are watching down in the comments. Gim! Hello my friends, I'm here today with what is perhaps the most interesting, labor-intensive, and intellectually stimulating type of content a content creator such as myself can create. I'm of course referring to a top 10 video. And what a top 10 video this is. Today I am delving deep into my own psyche and covering a topic that very few creators, nay, very few people, have the intelligence or even the nuance to cover. What Nintendo games should get remasters on the Switch? I know, this is certainly a momentous event for my channel. Historians will look back on this video as the moment Arlo stuff transcended its status as a mere YouTube channel and became a fixture in the lives of countless people. Allow me to clarify that this list is all about remasters, not mere ports. I firmly believe that we should be able to play basically every game ever on the Virtual Console, so most old games go without saying. But these are games I don't just want to play. I want them to get a fresh coat of paint, or at the very least get upscaled to 1080p. It kind of depends on the game. So without further ado, I would like to present to you my magnum opus, the top 10 remasters I want on Switch. Though I only put top 10 because that's better for discoverability. These games are actually in no particular order. And also there are 11, not 10, but you know, 10 is catchier. And I cheated and I lumped a bunch of the games together so it wouldn't get too repetitive, and all these picks are super obvious. Man, I am not selling this video. Oh, you bet your bippy we're starting with Pikmin. Pikmin 1 and 2 are, in case you don't already know, some of my very favorite games. For whatever reason, I am an absolute Pikmin freak. Something about the formula captivates the heck out of me. It's all the adorable little guys running around doing things on their own, and the challenge of fighting cool creatures while losing as few Pikmin as possible, and collecting ship parts and treasures and whatever else, and the beautiful environments. I just love it! Pikmin 3 on the Wii U refined the formula in a lot of ways, but the first two games in the series will always hold a very special place in my heart. And that goes extra for 2, which is in fact a top 5 overall game for me. Like, if I'm stuck on an island and I can only have 5 games, Pikmin 2 is gonna be one of them. The photorealistic environments and water effects still hold up pretty darn well on both games today, so I'm convinced that a simple resolution upscaling would look great. I mean, they could mess with the lighting and some of the textures or something if they wanted to, but a crisp 1080p image would do just fine by me. And when you consider that 2 can take over 20 hours to 100% and contains loads of caves that can be explored at your own pace, have you ever heard of a more perfect game to play on Switch? It would be cool if they could integrate gyro pointer controls similar to the IR controls in the Wii ports of both games, but even if not, I'd still be willing to dive into these gems all over again using the old controls. And again, and again, and again, and again. Oh, Super Mario Sunshine. There was once a time when I thought you were the last sandbox Mario I would ever play. How wrong I was. But even if I finally got what I'd been waiting for so many years in the form of Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Sunshine is still loads of fun. It's got a strong and very specific visual theme that runs through the entire game, which is pretty interesting. The controls are tight and feel really good, and FLUDD opens up a ton of new movement and interaction options. The main hub world is extremely fun just to play around in, and it's got a story with voice acting and everything, which is weird, but certainly unique. Is the game perfect? My goodness, no. Parts of it feel a little rough around the edges. There's not nearly as much freedom in which shine sprites you can go after than there should be. Way too many shines are locked behind blue coins, and some of the challenges are horrendously unfair. But overall, it's still just a blast to play. It's a game that I find myself booting up and running through once every year or so it would be great to have it on Switch and see all its vivid tropical locales in HD. This is another case where I don't think too much would have to be done to the graphics. The game already looks really nice. We just need a cleaner resolution. Bigger picture, gameplay-wise, a little more polishing and maybe a few tweaks here and there would be very much appreciated. And I don't know how feasible it is to take a sequence physically out of a game, put it into a rocket ship, and shoot it into the sun, but if Nintendo could do that with the Poison River or the Pachinko machine, I would pay extra for that. Oh, here's a big one. Or should I say, a big three? A port of the Metroid Prime trilogy has been rumored for a long time now. It's a rumor so strong, in fact, that many people consider it all but confirmed, and that perhaps the announcement was delayed due to the massive delay of Metroid Prime 4. But whether or not it's a real thing, until I know for sure, I'ma keep asking for it, because holy Pizza Friday, right here we have got 3 gorgeous, atmospheric, beautiful games. I mean, it's almost impossible to just gloss over what makes these games so great, but I'll just say that they contain numerous elements that the folks at Nintendo don't generally tend to care about, even though I feel that those folks should care about them, which is what makes this trilogy so special and important. The first game was on the cutting edge of console graphics when it first released, and 3 pushed the Wii hardware a lot further than I thought was possible. I don't think Nintendo would necessarily need to recreate any assets for the games beyond the UI and such. They're already so gorgeous and hold up so well that once more a resolution upscaling would make them look all the better. However, in this case, I think more advanced lighting systems would look terrific. I feel like if they really zeroed in on that lighting and color, they could make the games look twice as good without having to remake a thing. And of course, a remaster would need to have updated controls. The GameCube controls were very archaic and limiting by today's standards. 3 and the following Trilogy collection on Wii provided pointer controls, which were certainly an improvement and fun in their own way, but a full Switch remaster would need to have traditional twin-stick controls. Even if IR pointing is out though, an option to fine-tune aiming using the gyro would be much appreciated. Point of the story is, I am absolutely begging Nintendo to let me buy a whole series of games for literally the 4th time after the original games, the Trilogy collection, and the digital version of the collection on the Wii U. Please, Nintendo, please let me buy them all again. So I really hope they listen one of these days. I could talk your ear off about how if they want Metroid to be a thing again, this hypothetical collection is crucial. They need to give it to us. Next up is yet another very obvious pick. Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are stinkin' terrific games. The gravity concept and the space theme were so good that the Mario team just couldn't fit all of their ideas into one game, and the wealth of different mechanics on display between the two of them is nothing short of breathtaking. At first, I lamented the return to a more linear Mario after the more open 64 and Sunshine, but in recent years, I've come to really appreciate the tight level design. In fact, because they deviated from the sandbox style, they were the first 3D Marios to really zero in on that linear, tightly designed format like the 2D games had, and that makes them very important pieces of Mario's history. There was once a time that I didn't think the games would ever be ported because of how much they rely on pointer controls. But then I played the Captain Toad port and saw how easy it was for the developers to incorporate a gyro pointer. It's not quite as accurate, but it would be more than enough to make Galaxy remasters possible. Then graphically, why don't you tell me something new? The original games still look really terrific and would benefit most of all from a higher resolution. But similarly to Metroid Prime Trilogy, I think improved lighting would do well here. It wouldn't need to be quite as severe a change, seeing as the games wouldn't be going for such a heavy atmosphere. But some very small extra touches would go a long way, I think. Lighting, shading, reflections, that kind of thing. It would take relatively little work to make the graphics really pop. There's just one really important thing that they would need to change if they remastered Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 though. Map the spin to a button. If I have to shake my Switch to spin, Nintendo simply ain't getting my money. I am done with that. The whole thing goes in the toilet if I have to do that. Okay, so here's my one unrealistic pick. Nintendo just did a Luigi's Mansion port slash remastered slash demaster on the 3DS. Their decision to do so still irks me, as I've been waiting for a prettier version of the game for many years now, and instead we got a version of the game that in many ways actually looks considerably worse, with a significantly lower resolution. And since they just did that one, I can't see them coming out with a different remaster anytime soon. But one can dream. And what would I want in a Luigi's Mansion remaster? Actually, probably the most out of any other game on this list. The game showcased the raw power of the GameCube quite impressively and still looks great, so it's true that a simple upscaling would already make it look loads better. But my dream for it would be a whole lot of little tweaks. Maybe a few redone character models with higher poly counts, some redone high-res textures, revamped lighting and particle effects. More than any of these other games, I want it to be a full-on remaster that makes every aspect of the game look better. Not enough different to make it feel like a remake. It would be like the 3DS Zelda remasters, where you can't quite appreciate how much better it looks until you compare the two versions side by side. It's just such a terrific game, and it marked a huge advancement in Nintendo's graphical and artistic capabilities. N64 games will always look like blocky N64 games, but this Luigi right here, this is not that far behind what Nintendo's doing today. I feel like the game deserves some special treatment for being one of those first Nintendo games to really blow us away with its visuals. Well, that's it, guys. That's all the Nintendo remasters I want. I'll catch you next time, Paper Mario! Perhaps the most inevitable items of all on this list. Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door were on two different consoles, but I'm still lumping them together. The first game was a charming, hilarious adventure with simple yet engaging gameplay, terrific characters, an interesting world, and a great story. It took Mario and brought it somewhere much deeper, built its universe and its various races into something so much more creative and grand. It was the polar opposite of regular Mario, yet somehow that made it all the more fascinating, like it filled out the rest of the experience, completed the puzzle. Super Mario RPG before it had certainly established the idea of a story-driven Mario RPG, but if you ask me, Paper Mario better represented the spirit of Mario. It was the perfected version of the idea. Then along came Thousand Year Door, which in my eyes is easily one of the most perfect sequels Nintendo has ever created for its games. Everything about it was better. The graphics were better, the gameplay was better, the story was bigger and darker and more epic, and it was even funnier. It was one of the finest ding-dang video gaming experience I've ever had, and it's another top fiver for sure. Now, I have said in the past that I don't think Nintendo has much interest in these old Paper Mario games, and for the most part I still feel that way. Giving us new versions of these games would be to draw attention to them, and that would draw even more attention to the disappointment and controversy surrounding Sticker Star and Color Splash. It would be like, hey, remember when these games used to be good? Remember when they used to have stories and stuff? They stripped the series of its identity, and I know it might sound kinda conspiracy theory, but I don't think they're eager to remind us of what they took out. They probably want to stick to their guns and pretend those old Paper Mario games just don't even exist because they're part of the old formula, which has been discarded. But as I've also said in the past, Nintendo has changed a lot in the last few years, so while I'm still doubtful, remasters are at least possible. A remaster of the original feels more likely than one of Thousand Year Door, because if you just remaster the original, it's like, oh, this is how the games used to be. But Thousand Year Door is like, oh, Nintendo actually used to improve their sequels? But anyway, sorry, if we do end up getting them, Nintendo really doesn't have to do much. They might have to remake some of the 2D assets, such as character models and items and environmental elements, but it would be a pretty darn simple thing. So simple, in fact, that people have already modded both games to look so much better. And that's without being backed by a multi-billion-dollar company. Nintendo could do just as good a job and better. Either remake stuff or just scale everything up or a combination of both or whatever. That is absolutely all these games need because they're already great just the way they are. No fancy lighting, no extra flourishes, no gameplay tweaks, nothing. Just res them up, put them on Switch. That is all I want. I want to play them prettier and on the go, and most of all, I want other people to experience them for the first time. More than any other games on this list, the first two Paper Mario games need to be remastered for the sake of exposure to a whole new generation of people who have spent the last 4 years listening to me go on and on about how great they are. Before we wrap this up, honorable mention goes to Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. These are games that have already been remastered, just for the Wii U. So they're technically remasters I want on Switch, even if they wouldn't have to be remastered for Switch, if that makes sense. They're already remastered, just put them on Switch. Do it. Do it now. Stop not doing it, and do it, please. Thank you. Well, there you have it. Even if I have a long career in content creation, I doubt I will ever be able to top this video, but alas, I must at least try. I shall bask in the glory it earns me for a time, then I will move on as best I can, no doubt fruitlessly trying to recreate that lightning in a bottle, but ultimately never quite succeeding. Yes, Yes, it is sad, but when I lie awake at night dreaming of these glory days, I will at least take some small comfort in knowing that for one glorious moment, I did it. I flew close to the sun and touched its corona, felt its heavenly warmth on my face. For one moment, I was a king among men. This video was brought to you in part by my Patreon supporters, and in larger part by my top supporters. You can get behind-the-scenes updates on what I'm working on and chat with myself and your fellow Arlo fans for as little as $1 a month. So head on over to patreon.com/ArloStuff if you want to help out the channel. Thank you so much for watching, whether you're a patron, a top patron, or even just a casual fan. Have a great day, and I will catch you later.